He's all-pervading, and he's nitya, ever-existing. We are also ever-existing. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam, from the Katha Upanishad. We have knowledge, and Kṛṣṇa has knowledge. We have limited knowledge, but Kṛṣṇa has unlimited knowledge. That is the difference. We are conscious, and Kṛṣṇa is also conscious, but he's unlimitedly conscious. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam. Kṛṣṇa is the chief eternal being among many, many eternal beings. And he is the unlimited conscious entity among many, many limited conscious entities. Keshagra satabhagasya satangsha sadrishatmakaha jiva sukshma svarupo yam sankyatito hi chitkanaha. If we divide the tip of a hair into 100 parts, and then take one of these parts and divide it again into 100 parts, that very fine division is the size of but one of the numberless, uncountable living entities. They are all chitkana, particles of spirit, not matter. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 19:140. This shloka describes the dimensions of the jiva. This tiny atomic particle of consciousness, smaller than an atom, is the living entity, the jiva. And there is no limit to the number of living entities. Living entities are everywhere. Scientists are finding living entities in ice, in hot vents on the ocean floor, and even in the clouds. Similarly, within the earth, in the air, even within fire, there are living entities. The materialistic rascals don't understand this. Because nitya means ever-existing and existing everywhere. So the living entities do not die in the fire. You can kill the body, but not the atomic spirit soul. They are everywhere, in everything. You cannot kill the soul. For example, in abortion, the body is killed, but the soul is not killed. That doesn't justify abortion because the soul has a karmic right to that particular body. If you create some inconvenience to the soul who has taken shelter in the womb by killing his body, then he'll have to search out another body to accept his karma. Therefore, killing is sinful because you create inconvenience for that particular soul. You interrupt his karmic process of taking shelter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana daiva netrena jantur deho papattaye striya pravishta udaram pungso reta kunashrayaha. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:31-1. By his karma, by the law of God, he was given shelter in a womb to develop a body. And if you kill that body, you go against the order of the Supreme. Karmana daiva netrena. Suppose you rent a room in some house, and somebody does not allow you to occupy that room. That is criminal. It is unlawful even in the secular state. Similarly, if a living entity is developing a body, and you kill it, you immediately become a criminal, punishable by the laws of karma. And the living entity who is stopped from developing the body and put into inconvenience by your act, he's also sinful, and he's reaping the result of his previous actions. It may be that simply he's wandering from one womb to another, because he committed the sinful activity of abortion. Now the person who causes his abortion, he's also being punished. You'll never see the light of day. You'll simply have to move from one womb to another for as many times as you have committed abortion. Nature's punishment, karma, is like that. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But foolish materialistic people do not know because they are ignorant of the science of the soul. So they have created an entire civilization based on killing animals and killing each other. As long as we keep on killing, we do not deserve real spiritual knowledge. The karmic reaction of killing will always take it away. But before we can have real spiritual knowledge, we have to resign from the materialistic killing civilization and join the Vedic civilization, which is based on consciousness and spiritual knowledge, through the gate of the esoteric teaching. So this Vedic civilization is based on spiritual knowledge of the esoteric teaching from the Vedas, the original spiritual literatures of the human race. These literatures have been coming down to us from a very, very long time in the past, millions of years ago. It is not that human civilization only developed within the past 5,000 years. Try to understand. The materialistic civilization that began at the beginning of Kali Yuga 5,000 years ago deliberately erased all records of the previous civilizations. So therefore, even though human beings have been on this planet for millions of years, they have wiped out all these records and they misinterpret all of the archaeological findings and so on to conform to their theory that developed human beings, human civilization is only extant for the last 5,000 years. We went over this back in January when we were talking about Vedic history and how the Vedic Empire existed over this whole world, this whole planet. One nation, one government, one king. Then, 5,000 years ago, at the Battle of Kṛṣṇa, this political empire was destroyed. And afterwards, it collapsed because the transcendental technology that it was based on stopped working when Kṛṣṇa left the planet. So after the Battle of Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa gave the knowledge that we need actually to go on, even in Kali Yuga, and have a purely spiritual life. But we rejected that knowledge. We, meaning the people who started this materialistic civilization. They rejected Krishna's knowledge, and they went off on their own track, on their own path, ignoring spiritual knowledge. And because of this, now we have a civilization, even though it's very materially advanced, has very little spiritual knowledge. So even though if you go to church or to the synagogue or to other different kinds of temples, they'll tell you, yes, you're a spiritual living being. Still, if you begin to inquire, well, what are the qualities of the spiritual living being? They can't tell you. They have some stories made up about how, well, some people go to heaven, some people go to hell forever and ever. Or that actually the spiritual living entity is one with God in all respects, and when you achieve enlightenment, you just merge and you lose your identity. Or some of them say, well, this personal individual existence is just an illusion, and when you really wake up, then you realize that you don't exist and everything is nothing. But these are all different ways of reducing the complexity, the bewildering complexity and variety of material existence. But Kṛṣṇa doesn't say that. He says, we've existed forever and ever, and we're going to exist forever and ever, so get used to it. Deal with it. The complexity of life is irreducible, and it's based on the complexity of the living entity himself. So Kṛṣṇa is the chief eternal among all eternals, and the chief conscious being among all conscious beings. And by taking knowledge from Kṛṣṇa, we reach the point where we can realize our own nature and attain our own perfect spiritual body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Your Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.